Hey everybody, Shav and Nobody Else's Auto. It's 7 o'clock Sunday evening time for Sunday Night Live Chat. As always, we are live on two formats, both Facebook and YouTube. We're going to give everybody a few seconds to get their notifications. Jump on with us and we'll get rolling here shortly. Got a few on with us on YouTube already. Bill's here, Old School's here. Nope, Old School. Bill was on. Actually, Bill looked like it was on several minutes ago. So you were close, but not quite, Old School. Jim's here. Glad you made it. I got a few people starting to jump on Facebook, so hopefully those notifications are going out as well, and we'll get rolling here in just a few seconds. But like I said, glad everybody made it tonight. Still surprised you keep coming back, but we're having a good time on here, so hopefully that means everybody's having fun and coming back. Old School says he cheated. Yeah, I don't know how he cheated, but he was sure. Hal's here. Glad you made it tonight. Lee's on tonight. A lot of familiar faces jumping on with us on YouTube. Glad you're all here. Glad you keep coming back, and glad you guys are helping into what it is. No comments feeding on Facebook as of yet, so hopefully it is going to work. We've got some people jumping on with us, but nothing feeding as of yet. So anyway, what's been happening? Been crazy as usual. Big Job's here. Glad Big Job made it tonight. They do have my fiber internet physically to the building, but it is not hooked up yet. So Kevin's here. James is here. Rico and Jess are here. Great. Glad you guys all made it. If you're commenting on Facebook, nothing is feeding. The numbers are going up, but I don't have any comments as of yet. So what's Old School got going? Made a video of a 91 Civic yesterday. First time it's seen light in 10 years. New Zealand made it tonight. Glad you're here, Gasser. Kenny's here with us. Scott's on Facebook. So Facebook is working for now, at least. So that's a good sign, too. Mick's here. But the fiber internet is actually physically to my building. It's right here on the other side of this wall right behind me. The boxes are mounted to the sides of both buildings. They shot it up right between both of my buildings. So I'm going to have fiber internet ran into both of them, but they have not punched it through my wall yet. So hopefully maybe by next week, but definitely within the next couple of weeks, we'll be on full fiber internet. So definitely looking forward to that. Let's see. Yep, there's Bill again. Dan from Defiance is here. Richard made it on Facebook as well. So everything seems to be feeding. Everything seems to be ticking along, which is a good sign for once. We'll see how long it lasts because Facebook is still giving me error messages, but that's okay. Mike from Washington's on with us. Old School says fiber is going to make a massive difference. That's what I'm hoping for. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that definitely helps us out. We've had pretty good luck with the YouTube feed, but we've had some issues with the Facebook feed, so maybe this will help level a bunch of that out. D-Man's Garage made it tonight, so great group, great crowd again, as usual. Thanks for coming back, everybody. And thinking about making some changes and some stuff as far as what we do. The last few weeks, I always try to start off with some industry news. The last few weeks, a lot of you guys have had a ton of comments that we've went with. So we may end up starting to work with what some of you guys have to say to start with. Mark from Illinois is here. Patricia from Almonds is here, not too far away. Glad you made it tonight, hanging out with us. So, but sometimes we have a lot of fun with that too. So, I mean, if I see something cool in industry news, we're still going to talk about it. But sometimes I have to dig to find something that's cool that's worth talking about, and that takes a ton of time on Saturday night. So we may start working with some of your guys' comments and see what you guys all think too. Any 49 to 52 Mopar windshield visors, nothing that is not a factory one. I don't have any factory ones. I've got 4 outside visors in stock right now. An Evergreen Universal, one that I think is Pontiac, one that I think is Olds, and then I just bought another one that is a split windshield, non-adjustable. So I've got some stuff in stock that might work, but nothing that is specifically a factory Mopar visor on that. Maddie's on with us. Glad Maddie's here tonight. So anyway, so we'll see how that goes. Like I said, I've got a few things to talk about tonight, but instead of doing a ton of digging for industry news, we may just work with what some of you guys have to say on some of that, because it'll free up a lot of my a lot of my Saturday night time as far as prep work too. Richard, I'm in Great Bend, Kansas is where I'm physically located, right about in the middle of Kansas. That's where the yard's at. That's where I'm based out of. But anyway, what happened this week? What do I got going on? Bill likes our sign. Yeah, the Fairmont Dairy sign. That is a cool piece. And actually, I didn't even know it worked. I hung it up a little while ago. I was setting up this afternoon, decided to go with that tonight. I was like, I've never tried to see if this thing will work. Mercedes is on from Connecticut and likes the clock too. Plug the thing in, it started working. So I don't know if it's going to keep time. I don't know if it's going to do anything. I hope it don't melt down. If something starts melting or you see flames behind me, let me know. But so far, like I said, it's ticking along. I thought it was kind of cool that it worked. So I thought, well, I'll plug it in, and we'll see if it hangs in there tonight with us and see how good a job it does. So, but I had no idea if it worked or not until this afternoon when I hung it up in here and just happened to plug it in. Doug's here with us. Brandon's here with us. Nope, Kevin, I don't have any cookies. I'm too full. I just ate dinner. So, no, actually, old school, the light didn't work. But like I said, I literally plugged this thing in when I hung it up this afternoon right here. It's the first time I plugged it in. And I couldn't get the light to come on. Obviously, I didn't have time to mess with it. I was just kind of impressed the clock worked. So I figure I'll look at the light later and see what happens. But see if I can get it figured out. But like I said, I didn't even know it was going to work until I plugged the thing in. So, yeah, I know we've talked about that before, old school, as far as a moderator. I have mixed feelings about that. Yeah, I think we need one. On the other hand, it's a pretty big commitment to expect somebody to sit on here, every time I do something and babysit. And that's one thing you guys are great about. When we've had a troll jump in, a lot of you guys jump all over them and have run them off. And I appreciate that. That's, which is great. This thing, so, a lot of nights we're running almost 2 hours. That's a pretty big commitment to expect somebody to sit here and be the moderator on it. Like I said, I've got very mixed feelings about that. I don't want to expect somebody to have to do that because that's asking a lot of somebody to do that every single Sunday night, every single Tuesday night. So yeah, I understand what you're saying, old school, but it's just, you guys have done done a very good job of jumping on the trolls when they get here and run them off pretty quick. So like I said, it's kind of a catch-22. I don't know what, I have mixed feelings. So, Richard, can you do salvage titles on your cars? I can, on the antique stuff, I can usually get clear titles on. I've got, a lot of my stuff is titled. I'm usually working on title work. So, I can title a lot of my stuff. So, what's the best time to come out to the yard? I'm not open to the public at all. So it's strictly appointment only. And basically, as far as the way my schedule is, I can take you out and show you what you want to see, but I'm not open to the public. I don't have like U-Wrench and insurance where you can just go under the yard like they let you do at U-Wrenches and things like that. So that's why I'm just strictly appointment only. I do not have any hours. I'm not open to the public at any point in time. Doug, any forthcoming updates on the 40 COE? Haven't done anything with it. My daughter's in college now, so it's kind of a back burner type deal. We've got it in the shop. It's just, obviously not priority right now with everything else that's going on. Big job. Took my Borden's ice cream sign and replaced fluorescent lamp with one LED strip from Menards. That's a good idea, too, to put an LED strip in there. Like I said, I didn't even know the thing was going to work at all until I plugged it in a couple hours ago. And I was like, hey, it worked. I'll plug it in and we'll see what happens tonight and see if it makes it through the whole episode or if it melts down. So anyway, what did I have going on this week? Hutch Swap Meet. Hutch Swap Meet was Friday and Saturday down in Hutchinson, Kansas at the fairgrounds. They do it twice a year, and they do a spring and a fall deal. It's not the biggest swap meet, but it has turned into a pretty solid little swap meet. Decent amount of vendors. I bought more than I expected to buy. I got some good stuff there. And I did post all that on Facebook the other night. We did a walk around video if you're on YouTube. So if you missed that video on YouTube, you can go back and catch that from Friday. I did it as a live. And I've got pictures posted on Facebook with a link to that live video. Yeah, Big Job says I cleaned up there. Yeah, I did pretty good. Like I said, I didn't expect to buy a lot. I know when we go down there, it's not a huge swap meet, but it's only 50 miles away. So Dad and I both headed down early Friday morning. Dennis, what do I have Jeep wise? Very little in Jeeps. And it depends on what kind of Jeeps you're talking about. Actual Jeeps, I don't really have anything. I've got some Jeep products, but no actual Jeeps. Mid 50s Dodge Royal. I've got a few mid 50s Dodges, depending on exactly what year you're looking at. And VWs, I've got a few VWs there. Again, just depends on what we're talking about. Dan, let's see. You remember the deal on the haul pickups in the 84, 85 Dodge made dealers buy them back or trade a truck of their choice? I don't remember the deal on it, Dan. I think those were the Rod Hall pickups, if I remember correctly. I don't know a ton about them. But I do I don't remember anything about a buyback on them. I mean, I was only 10 years old at that point, so I don't remember a lot of the specifics on that stuff. So that I don't remember a lot of the details on. Bill, yeah, so far so good. The clock's hanging in there. Rochelle's on with us. Glad you're here, Rochelle. Haven't talked to you in a while. But glad you made it by tonight. I don't remember if I got any good dashes for those or not. I'd have to check and see. Let's see. Old school. Regarding your business, are you able to get loans for it, or do you use your own money to buy and sell and run the business? Because banks won't give you a loan for that business. Actually, old school, I own everything. I own it all. I don't have any of there's nothing at the yard that's financed. I own the buildings. I own the property. I own the equipment. I own every car out there. I own all the parts. I don't have any payments on any of it. I basically let it build itself over the last several years. Number one's here. Kim's here. Glad you made it. 49 DeSoto skirts. Nothing there, Rulamar, right now. So nothing on that. BW's Garage got here. So glad you made it. So no, I've let this entire thing build itself. When I had retail parts stores, I did have loans on those. I've sold those off, so I got rid of that debt. And just have let this continue to build itself as we go along. Tom, complete passenger door for a 54 Chevy two-door sedan. I've got one. I've got a car that is light green, but I don't remember if that door is good or if I've sold it. So give me a shout when we get done, Tom. I can get you on my notepad and check that. Number one, what a great weekend. His pot roast didn't burn, and he won fantasy football. So, but no, that's kind of how I've let this thing do itself. I've let it build itself. Lance from Utah is here tonight. Glad you made it on Facebook. But that's kind of what has happened. When I've always done this. Like I said, my dad did it. I've always done it my whole life. And even after I quit Chrysler and bought my first retail parts store, I started messing with this stuff a little bit again. When I was traveling with Chrysler, I did a little bit, but not much. But once I quit Chrysler and bought that first store, I started messing with it a little bit more. And when I finally, and just kind of bought a few here, bought a few there, let it build up. And when I got, then I had the opportunity to buy this facility, which was, if some of you remember, the facility I owned was actually a late model production yard when I bought it in 2011. They smashed everything in there. I bought the dirt in the buildings in 2011. So, I had 120 cars when I moved in there. So I've just let it build itself throughout the whole time. I sold I had two retail parts stores when I bought this. So I just let this keep building itself. And I sold the first store in 16. Then I sold the second store in 18 and went pretty much strictly to this. So let's see. Number one, now he wants milk and cookies. You're going to get everybody wanting milk and cookies just for that comment. Jason, 67 Comet parts. Don't have anything there. Let's see. NA440s here. Glad. I don't think you've stopped by with us before. Glad you made it tonight. Michael, any new 20s to 40s IHCs? No, I have not brought any of those in here recently. No, not in the last couple months that I can think of. John's on with us. Rulamar, where do I see the hobby going as most hobbyists gets older? That's why I thought NA440. I thought this is the first time you've been with us. Rulamar, we'll get into that again. We talk about that on here quite a bit. So since you asked the question, and some of you, this is going to be a little bit repetitive, and I apologize, but I do know we've got some new viewers on tonight. So we'll touch on it again on where I see the hobby going. The hobby's going very, very strong. What we need to recognize, what everybody needs to recognize, is that the hobby is changing. It's changing fast, and it's changing dramatically. We haven't seen Navy Nick in a while. I don't know about that. And I don't know when Big Job's coming after that Super Duty Ford that he keeps saying he's coming to get. So, but we'll definitely get a video when he comes to pick it up. So, but Rulamar, the hobby the hobby's going strong. But we talk about this on here quite a bit, and we'll touch on it here real quick. But what everybody needs to realize is, yes, hobbyists are getting older. However, hobbyists are also getting younger. We've got a great generation coming up. A great generation. There's a lot of kids out there that love cars. However, they like different stuff than what a lot of people typically think of a classic car. What I'm seeing is the muscle cars are not quite as big with this generation. What I see this generation liking is 50s and early 60s cars. Why? Very stylish. Different styles, different features, and they're drivable. A lot of them are automatics. You could put them in gear. They know how to drive them, and they're really cool. The other thing I see this generation getting into really, really heavy is 80s and 90s and early 2000s stuff. And I harp on this, and I harp on it, and I know some of you are probably tired of hearing it. But what we've got to remember, everybody's got to remember, is that when that kid shows up, you remember you got to think about the kid that graduated high school last May was born in 2003. A third-gen Camaro or Firebird is an old car. A fourth-gen Camaro and Firebird is an old car. They were made from, fourth gen was 94 to 02. They quit building them before that high school senior was born. The 90 Chevy pickups, the 94 to 02 Dodge pickups, the 87 to 96 Ford pickups, even some of the early Super Duty pickups. These kids like that stuff. Roy's here. Good. Glad you made it, Roy. Some stuff popping up over here real quick. Let me get to these. Big Job put his fire truck up for sale, so maybe he can sell it and come get the Super Duty. Old school, there's a rebellion on modern cars and trucks. The old stuff is very popular. Jason's here. Glad you made it. NA440, it changed in my time, and he's 35. Yeah. D-Man's Garage refuses to convert to electric. NA440 is Mopar all the way, 67 to 75. Number one, the mid-90s Civics and Model Ts to this, or the Model Ts to this gen. And that's right. You're not too far off, number one. James, the 80s C10 and 90s OBS on fire. Trans Am WS6, and that's 100% right. And this is what and don't get me wrong, Harleys are cool. I like Harleys, but when I was younger, 20 years ago, when you couldn't beg, borrow, or steal a new Harley Davidson motorcycle, when I was in my 20s, if I was going to buy a Harley, which I never did, but I would have bought a Sportster because you wanted something that was nimble to ride. And I remember how guys with Sportsters got treated. They weren't kind of considered a real Harley. Well, you don't see those guys now in my age group in their 40s riding Harleys anymore. I see Harleys are cool and they're great people, but some of those guys that didn't get into them 20 years ago aren't into them now. If that kid shows up who's 16, 17, 18, even 20, 22 years old, and he's working on a 98 Dodge with a Cummins in it, or he's working on a 93 Camaro, or he's working on a 94 Mustang, or he's got an 89 Chevy pickup. If you don't welcome him to your cruise night, your car show, your car club, whatever event you're having, if you don't welcome those kids with open arms, the hobby is in trouble. Right now, it's not. But we have to understand that things are different. These kids like different things. They have a passion for the hobby, but it's not all 69 Camaros anymore. Let's see. Lots of comments popping up on YouTube, Facebook. Haven't got anything here short, real, just a second in the last few seconds. Here we go. Lauren just bought a 50 Merc, building a cruiser out of it with his kid. That's right. It's a way to do it. Just like James said, Trans Am WS6s. I looked for 6 months to buy that car that I bought. And it's crazy what that market's doing. The 01, 02 WS6 are white hot. Um, and I'm tickled with the one that I got. But when I had the thing on race week, I had a couple guys come up to me in their early 20s, and they're like, "Man, is that thing like a real WS6 convertible?" Yeah, it is. It's got WS6 right on the option code list. It's a real WS6 convertible. But to these guys that are younger, that was a big deal. That was like a big block Camaro. Yeah, it's a real WS6 convertible. They made 2,700 WS6 convertibles in '02. So to them, that's cool. Lots of comments popping up here. Let's get caught up here real quick before we start losing them all. D-Man's Garage has a complete numbers matching Model A to build. And that's another good point. Number one, when hot rodding started, most hot rods were built out of what people were considering junk at that point. So that's you hit the nail right on the head. Number one, when hot rodding started, that's what guys were building hot rods out of, what people thought were junk. So to us, or to somebody who thinks that stuff from the 80s and 90s is junk, to that new hot rod or that new kid messing with it, it's pretty cool. That's right, James. Back then, talking about the Harleys, you had to wait 5 years to get one. Yeah, I remember that. Number one says he considers the Civic junk, so the circle's complete. So, NA440 likes Yugos. I tell you what, I think Yugos are kind of neat. They were so scoffed at that, in their day, that now it's that they're kind of cool. I mean, shoot, if you find one still in one piece, is a pretty big deal. Actually, when I worked for Chrysler, one of the Chrysler dealerships in Chicago I worked in had been a Yugo dealer. And they said so many people just left them there because they weren't worth fixing. He said, we just took the doors off. And if somebody had a window regular break, we just went upstairs and got the door that was the right color, just swapped the door out. So, but I think they're kind of neat, because they were scoffed at, they were laughed at. They were, nobody wanted them, but now it's kind of neat because they're different. Let's see. Old school has 3 Honda CRXs and a Civic, so don't beat up on it. BW's Garage 100% agree and loves looking at what they bring to the cruise ins. NA440, do you have any Ladas? No, I do not have any Ladas. Big job. Look at their music and dress, for example, with every generation. Every generation has different opinions. They see the world differently. They act differently. They treat things differently. And that's okay, But if anybody and I've seen guys do it, say, what's that thing doing here? Why they bring that down here? You can't do that, because if you do that, the hobby's in trouble. We got to be open-minded to this. Let's see, Kevin. I think these kids are coming up looking for the faster the car goes, the better. Burnouts at car shows are most common. Hey, that's been with every generation. So just the fact that you said that they still recognize that's to say everything's going great. Jason's Garage. Sorry I'm late. Just finished touching up a video, so check out and see what Jason's Garage has going on YouTube. Dan, you're right. In our area, I see it at car shows in his area as well. Old school, put a Wagavan real-time four-wheel drive system under CRX. That'd be interesting. BW's Garage, he closet loves the G-Body Grand Prix. And that's one thing I don't understand. The G-Body Grand Prix has not caught on like the Regals, Cutlasses, and Monties. I don't know why. I mean, Regals, Cutlasses, and Monties are wide hot, but the G-Body Grand Prix is just kind of laying low under the radar right now. Might be a time to snag a few up. Volvo P1800s, nothing there. Don't know a thing about them. Let's see. Old school, yeah, you'd be less fuel efficient in a Civic if you put 4-wheel drive in it. Alan NC, more and more people building crew cab 4-door cars. That's true too. 4-doors are not as big a deal as they used to be, because you can still cruise in them and have fun with them. Definitely that has changed dramatically, especially for a lot of these kids that can't afford an Impala SS 2-door hardtop, but they like 60s era Chevys, especially the 4-door hardtops. The 4-door hardtops are great looking cars too, and they're more affordable for this next generation. So that's 100% true. Yugo, the new car for the used car price and the headaches. That's true. Bill, the Monte Carlo SS Aero Coupe, great cars. Eloy, any Chevy projects? Just keep checking out the videos, Eloy, if you want, or if you give me a call if you got some specific stuff you're looking for. Trying to keep up. Things are scrolling in here pretty quick. Bill's 86 Aero Coupe. Yeah, those are cool. Yep. Let's see. Lots of stuff popping up. Old school. Why did GM stop making the Astro van? I'm not sure, other than the fact it was I'm guessing because it was an old, outdated rear wheel drive platform that they probably didn't see the use for. My dad used them for years for company vehicles, but I'm guessing because it was a rear wheel drive platform that was probably not. I mean, I would imagine sales started dropping on them, and that's probably why they quit making them. NA440. Do you sell whole cars? Um, that's yeah, I do. I can sell anything in A440. I am dual licensed, salvage and used vehicle, so I can sell cars or parts, either one. It doesn't matter. I can go either way. And I have missed a few comments. Things have been scrolling fairly steadily on Facebook. On YouTube, I've got a couple on Facebook. We'll catch here in a minute, but YouTube's ticking along here. I'm trying not to miss any of these. Number one, more people are accepting 4-doors for ice cream getters. Piles the kids and the dog in and still have all the bolt-ons and horsepower, and that's 100% true as well. So, and that's right, Jim. Pontiac built an Aero Coupe as well. The Pontiac Grand Prix 2+2 Aero Coupe was the Pontiac version of that, and those are neat cars as well. Bill, they're super scarce. They're super scarce everywhere, Bill. Jason always loved the look of the Astros. Yeah, they were pretty good vans. I tell you one car I would love to have, speaking of the Aero Coupes, that a lot of people probably don't know about. Number one, I think it's the grandkids building a hot rod with what grandma and grandpa rolled in. There's some truth to that as well. Jason's Garage. Anyone think an S10 chassis would fit under a 68-72 El Camino? Only reason I ask, if you find one with a severe rusted frame, you couldn't find a chassis. I doubt it, but I don't know. Of course, there's so many different wheelbases of S10s as well, too, that you'd have to figure that out. NA440 has a 4-door Valiant, and it gets more attention than a 70 Challenger. And there's some truth to that as well, too. You see 70 Challengers everywhere. 4-door Valiant is going to stand out. So let's see. Let's get to Facebook real quick before we lose these. Willamar, do you plan on attending the big Model T auction in Kansas later this year? Probably not going to catch that. That's about 3 or 4 hours away from me. And after I've looked through the pictures, and there just isn't much there. Nothing that I would be real interested in. Plus the fact I've still got over 30 cars on my list right now that I've already written checks for that I haven't picked up, that I probably better get going on. So before I go chasing something that's 3 or 4 hours away, I probably better get some of the stuff drug in that I've already paid for. Jeff, any 55 Ford Ranch wagons? No 55 or 56 Ford wagons at all. Rulamar, Astrovan was #1 used import in Japan for years. Huh. I did not know that. I never knew Astrovans were that popular in Japan. That's interesting, too. Brandon has an extended cab S10 frame under a Henry J. Well, that would make sense. Big Job, you going to collect the Japanese cars for some of these kids down the road? I'm not. That's not my forte. I don't know a thing about them. I've never been a fan of them. So that I can't do anything with. I don't know. Like I said, don't know anything about them, and I have plenty to keep busy with just what I'm doing. Yeah, too bad someone have a Salvador the chat with a decent frame. Yeah, and I don't remember. I think the El Camino was the wagon frame, if I remember correctly, but I'm not sure on that. There's a bunch of different A-body frames, and I'm not sure which one the El Camino used. So, but anyway, we're talking about the Aero Coupes. There is actually a car that I would love to have that I don't from that era, and it's a Buick, and it's the 1986 LeSabre Grand National. If anybody ever knows where one of those is at, I'm always looking on the lookout for one of those. They only made 200 of them. They're a neat little car. They are the front-wheel drive LeSabre platform, and it is a Grand National LeSabre. Followed up in 87 by the T-Type LeSabre that was built from 87, 88, and 89. Now that I do have an 88 LeSabre T-Type, but I'd love to have a Grand National LeSabre. Let's see. Hot Rod Shop says track width on an S10 is smaller than the El Camino. So Nate says El Camino and wagon are the same. So did see Nate at the swap meet yesterday. It just in passing, never had time to catch up with him, but I did get the wave at Nate yesterday at the swap meet, so I know he was there. But Jason's Garage remembers the Grand National LeSabres. Yeah, I think those cars are super cool. I'd love to have one to go with my T-Type LeSabre. There was a T-Type available on the J body as well, says #1. Yeah, Buick made everything in a T-Type. They made Riviera T-Types. I think they were the Skyhawk T-Types. But the T-Type LeSabre, and the T-type Regals are, definitely stood out. But I always loved the T-type LeSabres, and I bought one that was a one-owner car. Actually, that's what I drove to college, and I've still got it. So they were just V6 front-wheel drive, but they had a ground effects package, spoilers, specific wheels, buckets, console, interior. It's a great car to drive back and forth to college because it was a full-size car, V6 front-wheel drive, and it still looked pretty good. So Old School says, Barn Find Hunter just found a low-mileage 84 Grand National press car. So Bill, El Camino and wagon are the same. They need a different length. Okay, that's what I was thinking. The El Camino and the wagon frame was the same. Big job. My buddy's brother has that car since new for you. Yep, I've always thought those were pretty cool. So, Jason's Garage and Hot Rod Shop. I just wondered in case you couldn't find a wagon frame or another El Camino frame. I just thought looking for something different. Yeah. Rico says an S10 wheelbase will run from 108.5 to 122 on the 99 to 03 S10. You got 108.5 to 122 to work with. So, do you like the Polara 500? Those are neat cars. There again, they were the more full-size cars that are sometimes overlooked, but they also had great styling. Dan, a friend of mine had an 86 GN. I tried to buy it for 10 years, but he drove it till it fell apart. So, Hot Rod Shop, G-body frame different from a 90s Caprice? I would imagine so. I would guess they were. And that's one thing I do want. I mean, I do want a Regal Grand National as well. I mean, I love the 86, 87 Grand Nationals. That's a car I actually don't have that I've always wanted, that I've wanted ever since I was a kid. So I actually want the LeSabre Grand National and a Regal Grand National. It's just some stuff that I haven't stopped and actually buckled down and got. I've checked a lot of stuff off my list of some pretty good stuff, with my Viper and all my Trans Ams and things like that. But those Grand Nationals have just eluded me. Let's see. NA 440 Polara is a C body. That's right. That's what we're talking about with the Polara. They were big cars, but they had some great styling. So I think they're overlooked, but I still think a lot of that stuff is cool. There's a lot of that mid to late 60s big body stuff is great. And everybody had some great stuff that is so overlooked. The Buick Wildcats. I love the Buick Wildcats. I love the Oldsmobile Starfires. The Polara 500 falls right in that group. Even like the 66, 67 Galaxy XLs. A lot of that mid to late 60s big car stuff is still overlooked to this day. But I think they're great cars. I think there was some great styling. I think they were super sharp. A lot of them you could get, big blocks in. You look at, of course, the Chevy Caprice has always been popular, but, you look at the 66 Caprice, lot of really great looking mid to late 60s full-size cars that to this day are still completely overlooked in the hobby. Ralph from South Dakota is here, and it said it's cold in South Dakota, so I'm glad I'm not there. It was fairly decent here today. Billy BW's Garage is a fan of the clock as well, so glad you like that. Let's see. D-Man's Garage, eBay page. eBay page is real simple. Nobody else's auto, all lowercase, run together. No underscores, no spaces. Just nobody else's auto is the eBay store. Anyway, back to the Hutch swap meet. Old School, great by today's standards out there. Yeah, that's Bill says hit the like button. I appreciate that, guys. And that's something else that's so awesome with what you guys do. You hit the like button. You throw out some super chats. That's just so great. When you share me on Facebook and invite your friends over, and everybody on YouTube that invites your friends, and the likes, the thumbs ups, the super chats, all that stuff is so great, and the support is awesome. Jason's Garage. How about the 87 GNX? The 87 GNX is an amazing car. I love them. There was a guy here in our town that bought one new, number 488. I actually got to drive that car. That market has gotten out of control. But yeah, the GNX was an amazing car. I've always loved the GNX. Absolutely no doubt about it. Let's see. So everybody's saying that You could modify an S10 frame to fit an El Camino, but it's still narrow compared to the El Camino chassis. But like I said, the Hutch swap meet is really a solid little swap meet, and and I did really well there. Got bought a ton of taillights. Like I said, I posted pictures on Facebook and did a video on YouTube, but tons of taillights, one outside sun visor, a bunch of sheet metal, some Dodge pickup sheet metal, 48 to 53 pickup front fenders, late 70s, early 80s era pickup fender, 67 to 72. I don't remember if it's 67 to 71 door for a Chevy pickup with no rust in it. Front fender for 67 to 72 Chevy pickup with no rust in it. Beautiful 65 Chevelle hood, 53 Ford truck grill, 50 to 55 International headlight buckets and chrome headlight bezels. I've been out of that stuff for a long time, and I know I get a lot of calls on that stuff. So got those. 71 Granville, Pontiac Granville header panel. So lots of cool stuff. Be sure to check out those pictures or that video. And if there's any of that stuff you need or anything else, always give me a call. The number's on the pages, 620-786-4428. Give me a call to discuss that stuff. If there's anything you need or any other questions you've got about parts, questions and comments. In 72, could you get a 454 and a short bed half ton? That I'm not sure. I don't know about that, Ralph. Or the 400 to 402 big block. I don't know if I think they were available, but I'm not sure if they were available in a half ton those years, Ralph. Let's see. That's right, Jason. The GNXs are like $100,000 out of control. Old school, they should bring back the Roadrunner name, and I don't see that ever happening because Plymouth is gone. There was a lot of talk about should the new Challenger been a CUDA or a Challenger, and obviously after with Plymouth being gone 20 years now, I don't see that ever happening. Brandon, 51 Henry J taillights and hood ornament. I don't have any of that stuff. Number one, would that Buick Turbo 3.8 fit under the hood of a third gen? If we're talking like a third gen F body, it will, because they did it with the 89 Turbo Trans Am. So I know they will because they did it in those 89 Trans Ams. If we're talking third gen, I assume we're talking third gen F bodies. So anyway, and I got more signs this weekend too, which I'm sure shocks no one. So we've got lots of signs coming up. I got a few things at the Hutch swap meet, and actually a guy that does a lot of antique stuff around here that I buy stuff from quite a bit, he came up with some more signs. I think I bought 6 signs on Friday. So we definitely got those coming up for you on Toy Tuesday as well. So yeah, had an exciting weekend, had a good weekend, except I got to get some of this stuff sold because I spent too much money. Let's see. Big job. You know how many kids have never seen a Ford Elite? I got one brand new and still have it with 30,000 miles, black on black bucket seat console car. Once again, a car that has been completely almost forgotten about, but were sharp. I mean, they were good looking cars. Jason's Garage, it was funny back when these people were swapping 3.8s from Grand Nationals into the Monty SSs. It was the LS swap from 40 years ago. Old school, I did not get any signs that say long hair freaky people need not apply. So I got some soda pop signs and a couple of car signs. So they'll be coming up on Toy Tuesday. Actually, I've got enough stuff to do like a month's worth of Toy Tuesdays just on what I bought in the last 2 or 3. Yeah, what I bought in the last 2 to 3 weeks, I've easily got a month's worth of Toy Tuesdays without even dipping into my own stash that we haven't even seen yet. So lots of cool stuff coming up on Toy Tuesdays. Let's see. Oh, Hot Rod Shop went in to ask him why. Yeah. So anyway, and see this is great. We've had great conversation here, and that's why I'm not. I think if we keep this up, we'll keep starting off with this. Then we'll get into a badge. We'll get into a magazine. And anything really interesting from the industry, we'll definitely talk about. But we've got a great group having a ton of fun on here, making a lot of stuff happen. So we'll kind of kick off like that from now on, and if things kind of goes back the other way, I'll start working some more stuff up. But let's see, Kevin, did I see any promos? No, I did not see. Actually, I don't remember really seeing any promos in Hutch. There were some toy vendors, but I don't think they really had any promos. A lot of model kits, a lot of Hot Wheels, but didn't really see much for promos at all this weekend. So, Brandon, pop machines, didn't see any pop machines. Don't have a lot of pop machines. I've got a couple of Vendo 39 Cokes, but I don't have a lot of pop machines, but I do like them. They're really cool. It's just something I've never really pursued heavily. So, anyway, who wants to see a cool badge tonight? We'll get into the badge. We'll get into the magazine. We'll talk about the raffle. We're going to do some trivia. We got a lot of cool stuff to get to, so we'll go ahead and start moving into some of that stuff. And tonight's badge, old school. Do I have any gas pumps? I got tons of gas pumps. I've probably got 30 gas pumps. I've got a couple of visibles, and then like the taller rectangle stuff from the 40s and 50s. That's what I've primarily got. I've actually got some pumps up into like the 70s, where they were starting to get some of the stainless on the bodies. I like those as well. I'm not opposed to those at all. So yeah, I've probably got 30 gas pumps. Number one, no bazooka gum, no Tootsie Roll stuff this weekend. It was all soda pop and car related. So yep, I've got gas pumps, old school. Too many, actually. There's a few of them I need to get rid of. Jason picked up a Tonka hydraulic dump truck with a car hauler. That's always a great piece. Old school wants a pump video. Well, we can start doing some pump videos as well. Nate said his son talked him into a bunch of Hot Wheels at the swap meet yesterday. Has a tendency to happen, Nate, but there's nothing wrong with getting them started off on the right foot. Will says wants a live walk-in during the winter. Well, we may be able to get some of that stuff in too. Scott, have you ever had American Pickers come see you? No, they've never been here. The shoot that we did, they actually flew us to Nashville for that shoot. We did the shoot at their shop in Columbia, Tennessee, is where we did our shoot. They've never been here. I know Robbie fairly well. I don't know Mike very well, but I've met Mike a few times. He was there when we did the shoot. We did it primarily with his shop foreman at the Columbia shop, Mike Mefford, but Mike was executive producer that day. He was there throughout the whole shoot. But they've never been here. So I've met Mike a few times, don't know him extremely well, but I do know Robbie much, much better than Mike. I've been to Robbie's shop quite a bit. And, and sometimes I'll text back and forth with Robbie if I've got some questions or if he's got some questions on some stuff. So, but great guys and a lot of fun working with them and had a great experience with them as well. But nope, Scott, they've never actually been here physically. So, let's see. NA440 Hot Wheels rule. That's right. I love Hot Wheels too. I think we all love Hot Wheels, truth be known. I mean, if it comes right down to it, I don't think there's anybody on here that would actually, turn down a cool Hot Wheel. So let's see. Number one, those late 70s, 80s pumps are the expensive ones now because they so rare. You junked 100 in one weekend. That's true. And there again, that's what happens to all this stuff. And those pumps were the same way. Who wants these pumps? They want the old pumps. Throw these away. That's what happened to what the old pumps were years ago. I know one of the buildings my dad has up in where he had all his cars in Galatia, where we did all those videos from his place. When they bought that first building in 78, there was 2 gas pumps in front of the building that they could not get a bid on at the auction. So they literally hauled them to a trash pit and buried them. That was around 78. And these were pumps that were probably pumps from the 50s because at that time they were junk. Nobody wanted them. Nobody cared. But that's what makes the other ones more collectible, I guess. Nate says just happy likes to go with him. So yeah, if he has to get him a few Hot Wheels for that, that's Nathan. That's perfect. That's what we want to do with our kids. That's what I did with my daughter. I'm excited that you're doing it with your kid. That's how these kids come up in the hobby. That's how we get them interested. Take them out, take them to swap meets, take them to car shows, engage them, and make them feel welcome and have a good time. That's how you fuel that fire and turn them into car gearheads. Let's see. Big job. Just put a cowl hood on it and Krager's on his Ford Elite. I bet that looks pretty good, actually. Old school. Too bad Mike and Frank aren't good friends anymore. I've never met Frank. I've, never, in all the times we've been up there, never met Frank at all. Like I said, I know Robbie fairly well. Emily that runs the Iowa store, talked to her several times, know her and some of the other people at the Iowa store. And have met Mike Wolf, and Mike Mefford at Columbia. all great people, but never one time in all those instances did I ever meet Frank. So let's see. Jason got 3 vintage Hot Wheels tracks yesterday. There again, that's great too. I love those as well. Big job. 70s pump with an LED flat screen in the man cave. And I've seen people do that, and I think that's pretty cool too. When you put a TV in the gas pump. So anyway, we got a great chat going tonight. I mean, that's all we've been doing is basically chatting, which is awesome because that's what we're all here for. That's how we share knowledge, and that's how we bond and how we move our hobby forward is chatting and sharing this knowledge. So that's what's great, and I thank you all for that, and I appreciate your engagement in that. So anyway, time for a badge. Jason says he likes Robbie. Robbie is a good dude. Like I said, I know Robbie better than any of them, and a super good dude, and he's exactly the way he is on TV, 100%. That's who he is. Just a normal guy doing this stuff because he loves it just like all of us. So that's exactly how Robbie Wolf is in person, is just like he is on TV. He does it because he has a passion for it. He has fun doing it. He has fun meeting people, enjoys himself, and is really passionate about the hobby. So anyway, it actually looks like we are caught up on comments for like a few seconds. So let's sneak a badge in, and then we can get to the magazine. Tonight's badge, this is a beautiful piece. This came out of the estate in Missouri where I bought hundreds of badges like we've talked about in the past. And this is an awesome piece. He had a couple of these. I stepped up and bought this one because it was almost perfect, not quite. Bill says, what tracks did you get, Jason? Yeah, I've got a bunch of those things too, and they're great. I love them. Let's see. Number 1, Shopcat has one of the jukeboxes with 100 choices, first of its kind. Worst condition you think, but a new plan to save. Alan NC needs a Sky Show plane. So I think that was a Hot Wheels related piece as well. But anyway, tonight's badge, Robert, 64 dart parts. I don't have any 64 darts at all right now, Robert. Is a Studebaker badge, and this thing is awesome. Like I said, this was the best one he had. He had 3 or 4 of them, and this is beautiful. It's enamel. It is like a 36, 37, 38 era grill badge for a Studebaker. It's got a red background. It's like an enameling, kind of like a porcelain type deal. It's a beautiful badge. It's about 2.5 inches in diameter. I'm kind of holding it in my hand. It mounted on a studs. It's got a pretty long stud because this actually mounted to the grill. So this had to stick through the grill bars and then bolt on the back. I assume it probably would have had some sort of a washer on the back of it. But just a very, very pretty badge. And you don't see them very often, especially ones like that aren't all beat up and chipped up. David, 67 to 72 Ford trucks for parts. I've got a lot of 68 to 72. I don't have any 67s with the different doors, but I've got a lot of 68 to 72. So depending on what you need, I do have quite a bit of that stuff, David. So if you want to give me a shout tomorrow, and I'll get you on my list of what you need and check it out. But yeah, this is a cool piece. And like I said, we kind of stepped up and bought a really nice one. I did a little bit of research on it, and that's kind of what I found, 36 to 38. And these just were right out in front on the grill. They were a statement piece for Studebakers in that era. D-Man likes it. Kevin likes it. It likes the color. It is a great color. And, it looks a little bit almost kind of orange on the screen. I don't know how it looks to you, but it is definitely a true red. I think just the lighting is kind of showing up the metal behind it. So Bill says, I saw Robbie at Hershey. Yes, and he does typically do Hershey. Classic Ride Society in Fort Worth, Texas made it tonight. Glad you guys made it tonight. One of our regulars, they got a great channel too. If you're on YouTube, be sure to check out Classic Ride Society. What does it say on the bottom? Well, something we don't see very often anymore. Made in the USA is what it says on the bottom. Almost kind of blurry when I try to get it that close to the camera, but that's exactly what it says. That's right, Big Job. It is an eye catcher, and it is in great shape. BW's Garage, is the milk clock on eBay for sale? Nope. The milk clock's not for sale. Besides, obviously, automotive and gas and oil, one thing that my daughter always loved when it came to signs was milk and ice cream, which, how do you argue with that? When your kid loves signs and loves cars, and then she loves ice cream signs, it's kind of tough to kind of tough to argue with ice cream signs, because it's pretty tough to argue with ice cream. So, so the dairy and the ice cream stuff, we do have some of that. Not an extensive collection, but I do like that too. So, Kevin says it looks burnt orange. Yeah, I kind of noticed that when I'm looking at my screen compared to the actual piece. But no, it is an actual red. So yeah, I can see what you're saying. So. Alan NC was that would go good with the 42 Studebaker. Yeah, the 42 Studebaker is still out there. Frank's on with us. Glad Frank made it tonight. They did have another variation of this badge that I did find when I was doing a little bit of research on it last night, trying to come up with years on it. BW's Garage says there's an ice cream sign on eBay that I was eyeballing. Rough but cool. I love ice cream signs. Classic Ride Society. That's right. That's how this thing works. Classic Ride Society tries to send people to me for parts. And Classic Ride Society has a cool channel, so check those guys out too. That's right. Big job. God bless the USA quality. So Lee thinks it's awesome too. One other version of this badge that I did see that I don't have, but then of course after you see it, then you think, man, I got to keep my eyes open. I got to get one of those too. They had a Studebaker President that actually said President right across here under the Studebaker. So that'd be a cool piece to find, which obviously this being like basically a 3-year badge, finding the one that says President across the bottom is going to be really tough. Regardless, great piece, and definitely excited to have this stuff in our collection. Love these badges, love the stories they tell, and just having the one you can't own every car. There's no possible way, but that's why I love the badges and ornaments, and that's why I love the fact that you guys dig this stuff too, because these are little pieces of history that we can talk about, check out, admire, and enjoy. Ralph says it looks red on Facebook, so that's good. So. But that's why I love them. So, like I said, I've got hundreds of them. So we need to get some more hood ornaments worked in. I've always saved emblems and badges my whole life. Besides this huge deal we got into in Missouri 4 or 5 years ago, where we bought hundreds of them, including some extremely rare stuff. So it's a super cool piece. And excited to have it. So glad you guys like it. Glad you guys like this whole section of doing that. Jason got the Double Dare race action set and a Sizzler's California race set. So great Hot Wheels pieces there that he picked up this week. And we'll move on to the magazine for tonight. Tonight, we're going to go back to 1966 for some really cool stuff. David, any 40 Buicks looking for park light lens, outside visor, and fender skirts? I've got a few 40s, but there's not much left of them, and I don't have any of that stuff. So, but tonight we're going to check out Car Life from March of 1966. A lot of cool stuff in here. Actually got some props to go with some of these articles. Found a couple articles in here that I actually had stuff that directly related to them. We're going to check that out as we go through the magazine. So, number one, you ever find any SSP racers or smash up derby sets from Kenner? I don't have any. I've got some of the crack ups where you would like hit them and a part of the car would flip and show it was wrecked. I've got some of those. I think they were called crack ups back when I was a kid. Big job. You got to get it to where you can be tagged on Facebook and we can invite others to have in the group. So yeah, and like I said, any of that stuff that, we can share around, definitely appreciate. If you're on Facebook on the Nobody Show page, I cannot see those comments. This video is shared on the Nobody Show page on Facebook. I'm live on Nobody Show on YouTube, and you can comment. And I'm live, and it's also I'm getting the comments on the Nobody Else's Auto page on Facebook. If you're on Facebook on the Nobody Show page, this is a shared video, and you can watch there. But those comments are not fed to me. So just if you're on there, so you know that. But the March of 1966 Car Life, tons of cool stuff in here, and then there again, when we get into these car magazines, we can scour every single page in them and be here for the next 2 days. But got some great highlights picked out. Obviously, the front cover, Chevrolet's Panther. Can it catch a Mustang? Well, I think we all know where that article's going. Because remember, this is March of 66. So we're going to check that out as well as a bunch of other cool stuff. So let's get rolling into the magazine. And as we get into, a lot of times, Car Life, Motor Trend, they've always got a, new car or new rumor mill thing going about Detroit, what people are hearing, seeing, talking about. It's called the Detroit Report in Motor Trend, I think. In Car Life, they call it Motor City. They've got some little tidbit of information, so we're going to get into that. Let's see. Big job. YouTube is better, and then they can share it on YouTube also. That's great. Appreciate that. Let's see. Oh, NA440, thanks for being you. Good night. I'll have to catch up with you, and I'm ready to buy some stuff. Peace out. Thanks. Glad you made it tonight, NA440. Hope you come back. Hope you had fun tonight, and appreciate you swinging by, and definitely hope you come back and join us again next Sunday night and Tuesday night as well for Toy Tuesday. Looks like Classic Ride Society, something popped up, but it didn't feed or something. If you want to throw that back up, I'll definitely catch that. But the Motor City report in Car Life of March of 1966. Remember, we're looking back with 2020 hindsight, which is so awesome. Number one, didn't the original Camaro commercial have a panther chasing horses? That I'm not sure. I don't remember that. But the Motor City report in this issue of Car Life is right here. BW Guys threw up a link for the ice cream sign. Thanks. Appreciate that. Studebaker's still here. Is where that is the title on that. And it says Studebaker Corporation takes exception to some recent reports that hint the company may fold up its automotive umbrella and go to making something more profitable than cars. So thought that was kind of interesting since our badge tonight was Studebaker. And as we now know, that's kind of about what happened. The article goes on to say, you will notice that November of 1965 saw Studebaker sales climb above the figures for the previous year of 1964, says a Studebaker spokesman. This is the first time we have exceeded previous year sales in a long time, in about 36 months, except for a single day period in September when they were dealing with a shutdown. So the article goes on to say, well, that's not bad if you consider November any kind of barometer, because during the first days of that month, which this would have been in 1965, Studebaker sold 789 cars. Compared with the 729 they sold at the end of in November of 1964. So obviously we know now that 66 was the end for Studebaker, and that handful of cars that they did sell was pretty much the swan song for them, and that was pretty much it. So in March of 66, they were still fighting to stay alive. They had still not thrown in the towel, but the writing was on the wall, and we know now with 2020 hindsight, that is what happened. The next article in the Motor City tidbit was, and it is a little blurb about car companies' product planning people are faced with a new dilemma. And it actually tied back to an old dilemma that I didn't even realize why this had happened. But it's kind of interesting. Talking about in 66, tapes were starting to come out, 8-tracks, things like that. And they were talking about what was happening when people had left all these tapes in their cars. I got to thinking, well, their 8-tracks are probably getting hot and melting. No, they were talking about theft. And this is where the article really kind of caught me. It says, you have to figure out where to keep the tapes. You can't hide them you can hide them in the console, but it's too easy to get open. So people have to stopping and putting them in the trunk. Now, where they were going with this article was the old pull-out radios. Who remembers the old transistor radios you could get in your car? And I didn't know making them or quit, offering them, but that's what it said right here. The high pilferage rate was one reason GM discontinued their pull-out portable radios. So who's familiar with those? Anybody remember those? When you could, they usually actually were in the glove box. There was a bracket for them, and you could literally open your glove box or reach in there, pull out a transistor radio that plugged in and charged while you were, driving your car. And I think you could even put batteries in them as well. And then when you got done, you slid it back in the bracket and closed the glove box, and you always had it in your car. You had a removable transportable radio in your glove box at all times. Buick had them, Olds had them, Pontiac had them. So they were really cool. They were a really cool accessory. Let's see. couple of comments here. Big job. Studebaker bullet noses were one of a kind, used a lot in customization. Those are bullet noses are great cars. Brandon, I believe orphan cars are going to start getting popular, and I agree with that. Big job. Way bad in the 70s for theft in shopping malls. And that's true too. Eloy, I've got a Pioneer Super Tuner, like one of the old ones with the big round dial. That's cool. So Brandon, Jason's Garage. Brandon, don't say anything to anybody. Stuff's getting hard enough to afford the way it is. But anyway, the transportable radios were super cool. And this is what they were. This is the one for my 58 Pontiac. Jim said his uncle had one in an Olds. Yep, Olds, Buick, Olds, and Pontiac all had them. I believe Cadillac had them. And I about why they quit using them. They were very common, 58, 59, 60, right in that window. Like I said, this is the one for my 58 Pontiac. The radio knobs and everything were very similar to the ones they had in the cars, and Buick and Olds did the same thing. This had the Pontiac style badge, says Sportable on it. Sportable meaning you could pull it out, take it with you. This is supposed to have a handle on it. The handle is missing. It's got a little hole there, and it was a little small handle that would flip up and would actually sit right here. So you could flip that handle down to carry it. And then when you stuck it back in, there was the plug-in where it would mount into the receptacle in the glove box to hold it and to charge it. BW's Garage likes it. Jason's Garage, just curious, was it made by GE? Well, let's see if it says anything on it. I don't see anything. I don't know if I can get this cover off of it or not to see if it says anything inside of it, because it had the cover for the battery. So we'll see if this will tell us anything in here. This is actually a Delco radio. It has the model number and the sticker right there, so I'm assuming Delco did make the whole unit. So I'm assuming that these were an actual OE Delco unit, 4 AA batteries. So what they took, this cover right here went over it, had some instructions on the inside of that, which we can't really make out very clear. But that's what they were. Let's see. Jason likes it. Big Job likes it. Chris, Olds was the transportable. Pontiac was the sportable. Okay, that's right. That is correct. And 59, they went to the glove box with the lock. That makes perfect sense. Jim, at 13 years old, he was impressed with his uncles. Yep, they're neat pieces. Big Job remembers them. BW's Garage, the pull-out radios big in the 80s to prevent theft. But yeah, and this shows how far back they went. So yeah, it was kind of cool to see that in the Motor City Report. It's like, hey, I got one of those. We'll get a prop out to go with the article when it talked about it. And I never thought about theft being the reason that they quit using them, but definitely makes sense. So let's keep rolling through the magazine. That's right, D-Man. That was fancy back then. That was right uptown if you had something like that back in that era. So we'll flip forward a few pages here to another cool article. I actually had something in stock to show with this. This article is about the Super Offie, which was, an engine that was very common in Indy cars back in the day. There was the Offenhauser, and then later known as the Meyer-Drake engines. Super common, made tons of horsepower out of a tiny engine. And, and they ran them in Indianapolis and everything like that. Ralph, the handle also folded down under the leg, so when you placed it on the roof and played it, perfect sense. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I hadn't thought about that too. You can use it as a stand for it. So, but the Super Offie, they'll huff and they'll puff to blow those Fords down. Alan NC hit me with another super chat. That's amazing. I appreciate the super chats. It means a lot that you guys think enough of what we do here to support it with super chats. So that's great. And I super, super appreciate any super chats anytime. But the Super Offie that's talking about putting a supercharger on the Offenhauser engine for Indy cars. You know, you can see it mounted off to the side here. A couple more pictures in this article. Scott had a radio on his bike taped to the handlebars. And I could see you doing that too. That would be cool too. But lots more cool pictures in here showing a lot of the stuff that they were doing, how they were developing all these pieces and all these parts to make these engines competitive. This Offenhauser design had been around for years. Meyer Drake had taken it over. This was talking about supercharging them and really taking them to the next level to continue to keep these engines competitive. Big Job had a radio snatched in the late 70s, but he caught the kid. So sounds like Batman going on there, boom and zowies when he caught him. So, but these Meyer Drake Offie engines, are really cool. I mean, it's something that I don't know a ton about because I'm not big into IndyCar, but it was, when you look at the technology and the things that they did with these engines and the horsepower they got out of these little things back in the day was absolutely amazing. Now, this is something else I actually have something to go with. We actually did a Toy Tuesday on this stuff. It's been a few years ago, but we did a Toy Tuesday with this stuff. And if you're interested in this stuff, you'll definitely want to check it out. Because I'm going to show you some stuff here. It looks kind of like this. It's a block of wood, right? More blocks of wood, okay? We got blocks of wood here. Where are these blocks of wood? More blocks of wood. Well, these blocks of wood just look like blocks of wood with weird shapes in them. However, this article, we're talking about the development, the modifications, and what it takes to keep these Meyer Drake Offie engines competitive. And this is talking about supercharging them, and that's what they're developing. So back then, they didn't have CAD programs and CNC machines. They had to design this stuff. That's right, Big Job. These are all molds for Meyer Drake Offie engine parts. It's exactly what they are. Got a whole box of them. Don't have any idea what this piece was. Maybe it was an air intake. I don't know. But it was a pretty cool deal. And there you can see where it's stamped, Meyer Drake engine with the number on it. But these were the patterns, or how, I don't know what they're using for a process, but these were all, I think, done by hand for these specific pieces. I've got multiples of them. I said I got a whole box of them, probably 8 or 10 different ones. This one says Drake Engineering Body, Engineering Corporation Body. On this side, whatever this piece was part of fuel enrichment for a Drake engine. So this piece doesn't have Meyer Drake on it. I don't know what this piece was actually for. Obviously very unique. I don't know if it's some sort of an intake system or what. But like I said, I did a Toy Tuesday. Maybe it was a regular video. It was a year or two back on the entire box. So you can go back and check that out. That video is on YouTube. But I thought that was so cool to find this article on the Meyer Drake Offie engines and the development of them. And then I was like, I got a bunch of stuff that directly ties to that. And it even says so right on them. So anyway, kind of some cool pieces. If that stuff is of interest to you, be sure to go back and check out that video. Like I said, it was a couple of years ago. Jason says, I rule show and tell. Old school headers, manifolds, could be any of that type of stuff. Don't know. A couple years ago at Indy, Mecum Indy in 2019, they had about 8 or 10 lots of these patterns from Offie and Meyer Drake engines. And I got one lot of them bought. I want them just for my collection. Like I said, it's just so cool. This is just not stuff you just find at the local swap meet. Alan NC says, I win show and tell too. So I appreciate that. But just like I said, it's not really my forte, these Indy cars. But man, this stuff is so cool. They're pieces of history. I was really excited to get one batch of them bought so we could do a video on them. And then, we can share them now as we stumble across some of this other stuff. as we're going through here as well. So let's see, a couple things popping up here. Big job. My neighbor in Industrial Park would make molds for people and custom, did a lot of custom work. Classic ride site. You know anything on a 55 New Yorker Deluxe wagon? Ran across a project at a swap meet yesterday. Heard they're pretty rare. I'm sure they're pretty rare, but I don't know much about them. I've got a 55 DeSoto Fire Dome wagon, which I bet is about the same body in stock, but I don't have any 55 Chrysler wagons. But I wouldn't be surprised that the Fire Dome DeSoto, and it's still got its Hemi in it as well, is probably very similar to that New Yorker. Kevin says, looks like the same type of wood. It could be. Old schools, that's the kind of stuff pickers buy. Yeah. That's right, Jim. It was sand casting stuff. I believe that is correct. It was sand casting stuff. So thought that was cool. Hope you guys enjoyed that, and something kind of different. It's always cool when we can add to the magazine a little bit like that. Now, the next article we're going to catch, this was pretty cool. I actually had to do a little bit of research on this. Son of Big D, the Duesenberg returneth. Yep, 1966, the Duesenberg returneth. Is what they were trying to do. Now, obviously, we know in the 60s there was a lot of things going on with this. Obviously, if you've been hanging around here a while, you know that Doug Prey's a good friend of ours, and his dad, Glenn Prey, did the 8/10 chord in the mid-60s and then went on to a full-blown production of the Prey Auburns in the late 60s. So that was, a big thing back then. And Bill likes them. Bill thinks they're pretty cool. Holy, you know what? Yep. So this was a big thing back then. Glenn Prey had a great run, and now the Glenn Prey cars literally have their own following. That they still have their following to this day. So when I saw this article in the Duesenberg, it kind of surprised me. Obviously, I know a lot about the Glenn Prey Cords and the Glenn Prey Auburns because of our association with our friend Doug, and Glenn was his dad, and Doug was there through all of it. So it's pretty much getting the story right straight from the horse's mouth because he lived it. So this Duesenberg thing was kind of different. Ralph, he knows somebody that knows a lot about Offenhausers in Belleville, which isn't too terribly far from us here in central Kansas. So, but this Duesenberg, I had to do a little bit of digging on it. And I read the article, and they literally had raised funds for production. This body was a car that was done by Ghia. The pictures on the next page actually show some of the renderings, and it shows the body literally in process as it's being built by Ghia. So I thought this was something, like I said, I didn't know much about this. We're showing pictures of the body in development. So I read it, went through it, and actually they were doing a custom body, and it was it was based on a Chrysler frame with Chrysler power plant. It actually says in this prototype as it's being developed, it actually has a street Hemi in it. And it used a lot of Chrysler chassis parts and a lengthened Imperial frame for the Duesenberg prototype. So I was kind of curious. I was like, because I didn't know anything about it. They expected these cars to be priced at about $20,000 in the late 60s, which was about double what a new Cadillac was. But they had money. They obviously had raised enough investor money to actually build the prototype and take it to some car shows and try to generate interest and deposits on cars, which that did happen on some of this stuff. Let's see, a couple of comments popping up here. Classic Ride Side, do you have any insight on spotlights on cars back then? A lot of them had factory spotlights. A lot of them had aftermarket spotlights. So it just depends on what they had. Brandon said something about Avanti. BW's Garage, yep, sand casting. So let's see, BW's Garage. That's why I like this stream, learning new stuff. We all learn stuff on here, BW's Garage, myself included. And that's what's great about this entire group is everybody's participation is what makes it great. And that's how we all learn. Number one, Hard Knocks University of Vintage Americana Automobilia 101. I guess that's a good way to put it. Big Job found a Newell stock spotlight on eBay, but it takes time for them to show. But anyway, the Duesenberg prototype, the new Duesenberg prototype, actually still exists. The car was built. It is the only one that was built. They were never put into production. It ended up having a 440 in it by the time it was done. And the car does still exist. The last information I could find is in 2019. It did go across the block with Sotheby's. However, it did not meet reserve. The estimate on the car was $300,000 to $350,000. So the car does still exist. The pictures I found on the internet are very similar to the rendering that we see here. And it was a very beautiful car. Obviously, you're talking double the price of a new Cadillac, and then plus getting it out there, meeting government mandates, things like that. Obviously turned out to be a monumental uphill battle for the individuals backing the project, and it never came to fruition. And they never really produced any cars, and obviously nothing to the success that Glenn Prey had with the Glenn Prey Auburns that he came out with in the late 60s. So next we're going to get to the cover story of Panther or Reluctant Dragon. Now, obviously we know we're talking March of 66. We know Chevrolet is going after the Mustang, and this is where we're at with it right now. Panther versus or Reluctant Dragon. These are renderings of what we know today as the first generation Camaro. So when we look at this picture, I don't see a ton of similarities in this, but I did see a few. When we look at the C-pillar where the roof line comes down, we look right back here. That does to me resemble a first-gen Camaro. Obviously, they stretched the nose out a lot longer in this rendering than what it actually was. But, kind of from right about here, we can kind of see the first gen. So this is just the beginning. Like I said, this is March of 66. So this stuff is from basically probably January of 66. So, not quite a full year before the car was released. But this is what the press was getting a hold of at the beginning of 1966 on what became the first generation Camaro and Firebird. So, let's see. Big Job says they're chump change. Wish he was a chump. Yeah. Number one, plus the big three were really unhelpful towards resurrecting car brands. And that's extremely true. Extremely true. Bill Renewal made a model of the Duesenberg Renwall made a model of the Duesenberg in 66. Big Job says it's a cool rendering. Yeah, it is. Yeah, number one, the big three were really unhelpful towards resurrecting car brands. And that's totally true. However, sometimes they weren't afraid to help themselves to some of their technology. If you caught some of our stories with Doug Prey about the 8/10 cord that his dad had done, that they had one disappear from their parking lot and reappear a month or two later right back in the exact same spot where it had been stolen from, and they could tell the entire car had been dismantled, the front-wheel drive system analyzed, and that was a year or two before the Tornado came out with front-wheel drive. So, do the math on that deal. It's you can never prove it, but you can do basic math too. So, Out to Her Fiddler, I think spotlights were much more rare than people think in the 50s. They're not in any brochure. A stupid accessory in his opinion, but it's a matter of taste, and that's true. A lot of manufacturers did have spotlights available. However, not many people opted for them because, like I said, they didn't make a lot of sense to a lot of them. However, most manufacturers in the mid to late 50s did have spotlights available as a factory option. There is a lot of, but a lot of people did buy aftermarkets for them. The aftermarkets are still fairly common. So, Big Job says, yeah, he remembers that story. It was an awesome story too. Yep. So, let's see a couple more things we're going to catch here real quick. Then we're going to get to some ads and some classified. So, Car Life Road Test, the Plymouth Satellite with a 383 in it. Put a little bit of color into that picture. And then obviously most of it is black and white. And this one, since it was a road test, did give us some data on it. Like I said, this was a 383 car. It was equipped with a 4-speed. And this one gives us they gave us a lot of data in these car lives if you had the time to really sit there and analyze them. But standing quarter mile was 1560 at 91 mile an hour for the satellite. They backed the satellite article up, and this was literally back to back with the Ford Fairlane GTA, which are also a really good looking car. This one didn't get any color though. They threw the satellite a little yellow there. But once again, on the Ford Fairlane GTA, this car was an automatic, and it was a 390 automatic. These were sharp cars. They really were. Even though they're black and white, they've got great pictures with it. A lot of specs on these things in these articles. And they had the GTA Fairlane with the automatic running a 15.4 at 87 miles an hour. Number one, electricity was not everywhere, and streetlights were city only, so spotlights were super useful if you didn't live in a city. And that would make sense. That makes total sense, actually, number one. So one more article that we're going to look at real quick before we get into ads, and I thought this was pretty cool because this was something else that was a big, big deal at this time in the mid-'60s. The article is entitled Supersonic, A New Realm of Big Speed. And it focuses on jet and rocket-powered land speed cars. Obviously, Spirit of America right there in the beginning of the article. By far one of the most well-known jet-powered land speed cars. Obviously, the Beach Boys even did a song called Spirit of America about the car. Driven by Craig Breedlove. But a lot more in here. Even has the Green Monster, Art Arfon's Green Monster in here. And they actually had some good color in this article as well. Fiddler, the car magazine guys confessed that most of the drag racing testing results were estimates. They didn't have the time to go out and run all those cars to meet deadlines. And there's probably a lot of truth to that too. But, the Supersonic article here again towards the end, more great pictures of some of these land speed cars from the 60s, including this one with multiple rockets in the back of it. They were trying a little bit of anything they could with the technology that they had to try a lot of different stuff out there. So tons of cool stuff in here. Old school car magazines are the best reading material while you're doing your business. But like I said, great issue in the March 66 Car Life. Like I said, we could spend hours and days going through everything and every one of these. So we're kind of catching highlights, but that's what we do on here. So let's check out some ads. Starting off with the inside cover, a great full color ad on a gold 66 GTO action shot. Pontiac did a great one on that one. To all other cars from the GTO with an action shot on there. And remember that. Stick with me and remember that as we go through the ads, that Pontiac has the, kind of throwing down the gauntlet to all the other cars from the GTO, What's New Pussycats, and a great 2-page color ad on there. So keep that in mind as we go through the ads tonight. Another great car, not quite as flashy of an ad, but a car that I really love, and I've always loved the styling on these, was the 1966 442. A lot of distinct traits about the 66 442, the fender vents, the taillights, all specific to the 66 442. And I thought that really made him stand out and made him a great looking car. Another ad, we're going to check out something that we don't even think twice about today, much less running a full-page ad about disc brakes. The Kelsey Hayes disc brake system. You got to remember, in 66, very few cars had disc brakes. Tucker had them in 48. Corvette had them and came out with them in 65. It even talked about them on the Duesenberg prototype that it was going to have four-wheel disc brakes. Disc brakes were a big, big deal. Chrysler had experimented with them a little bit. They had a few production models in the mid-50s that our friend Roberts has taught us a little bit about on here in past episodes about the Avro Lambert or something disc brakes Chrysler had in the 50s. But very, very, very few cars had disc brakes by 1966. So literally Kelsey Hayes had a full-page ad on their disc brake systems. Today, everything's got disc brakes. You don't even think twice about it. Let's see, old school. Anyone know why propane-powered automobiles were made mainstream? Probably just never had the infrastructure to support them, I would guess. Big Job, did you ever think about this young generation way of interns to help you out on posting and networking and things like that? It's just, there again, it's just tough. And I've thought about it, but to get people to do things the way I want it done, sometimes it's easier to do it yourself. You know, that's got a lot to do with it too. Let's see, Mick, I love cars along the. He's in his 70s. I've never seen one. I loved cars a long time. I am in 70s and have never seen one. Just see what you can find out on Sunday night. So, number one, you can't park a propane vehicle in a parking garage. Sam made it. Glad you made it, Sam. Let's catch a few more ads. We'll flip forward a couple more pages here to another black and white ad. However, it is an action shot of the new 1966 Chevelle SS396. Old school or magnetic brakes going to be the future. That I could not tell you. I don't know for sure where that's going to go. But a cool ad with the 66 Chevelle there. And just a few pages beyond the Chevelle, Chevrolet also got their El Camino stuck in there with a Chevy pickup on a nice still ad, also in black and white, but definitely got the point across about what the El Camino is capable of as far as a hauler. The next ad we're going to look at is a big ad. It's a multi-page ad, and it is the Hot Ones from Plymouth. And this thing is cool. This is a great ad. I don't know what they spent on this thing, but it's multiple pages, multiple color, starting off with the Hemi-powered Belvedere. Right there, dual page color spread. And this is what really I thought was pretty cool about this ad. Right here, it's going to be kind of tough to read, but it says 426 inches, 8 barrels, 16 really big valves, and 4 rockers. Get one for your Plymouth dealer. They put that in an ad today, and I bet nobody would have any clue what they're talking about. You put valves and rockers and everything right in the ad, most people you'd have them lost. Back in 66, if you were looking at reading an ad about a Hemi Belvedere, you knew what they were talking about. Old school hydrogen cars, even more dangerous than propane. That I don't know. I don't know enough about them. I've taken a few seminars on hydrogen-powered vehicles, but it's been several years, and I don't remember a lot of the details. Big job. Yeah, you're right about MindReader. I have the same problem with helpers in the shop, and you spend as time fixing doing it yourself as you would helping somebody else or teaching somebody to do it. The next page, we've actually got action shots. We've got race cars. We've got stock cars. We've got the Hemi-powered Landspeed Goldenrod at the bottom of the page. Remember, this is a Plymouth ad. This is a big, mega Plymouth ad in the middle of this car life. Next page, and I thought this was even really cool, we get into the drag racing Plymouths. Now, lots of cool drag racing shots, but obviously one of them stands out. The color on this little Plymouth Barracuda look familiar to anybody? I bet it probably does. I don't know if you can read the side of the car where it says Outlawed. That's Richard Petty's drag car. When NASCAR banned the Hemi, Richard Petty went drag racing. That was his drag car. Remember Steam Cars? Yep, remember Steam Cars. Big Job really digs the magazine, so BW's Garage is neat what they did back then. They needed something fast to compete with the pony cars. So they stuffed the Hemi in a big car. Yep, and stripped it out. So Jason thinks of Sox and Martin. Yep, Legend of the Belvedere. And Plymouth did make a lot of great cars and trucks, that's for sure. The last page of the ad, win a 66 Hemi-powered Belvedere. Still has the contest entry form. Don't think it's going to do us much good to fill it out at this point. But there was the entry form to finish up the big mega ad that Plymouth had in this issue of Car Life. Going to catch a couple of classified ads, and then we're going to jump to trivia and the raffle. Oh, no, we got to catch the ads in the back yet. I missed the ads in the back. Remember we talked about the inside front cover with the GTO, kind of calling out some of the other manufacturers? Well, when we look at the last page, Ford kind of took a shot back. How to cook a tiger. We all remember the GTO tiger tails sticking out from the trunk. Ford stuck theirs under the hood and put it in a magazine ad. So remember that where Pontiac was calling people out on the inside front cover, Ford did call Pontiac out on the inside of the back cover. But that's what made this era so great with the marketing. Back page, the Dodge Charger, obviously an iconic design now. The 66, 67 Fastback Charger wraps up the back page of this issue of Car Life. So, let's see. Couple of classifieds in here we want to catch. Um, 47 Lincoln convertible with a 49 Cadillac engine. Excellent blue paint, circle tires and top, good running order, $1,000. Pretty amazing what we find in some of these. 52 Months Jet, which was a really cool little sports car, very limited production with a Lincoln powertrain, $2,200. This was a cool car that was also advertised. They don't have a ton of classifieds in here, so there's only a couple that really stand out to catch. But we obviously know how hot station wagons are today, and this was a pretty new car at the time because this is a 66 issue of the magazine. 1965 Bonneville station wagon, 421, special tow options, air conditioning, heavy-duty tranny, power seats, power windows, power steering, brakes, roof rack, silver on silver, every option available. 12,000 miles, $29.95 for a factory 421 Bonneville wagon. That'd be a super cool car today. So anyway, that's what we've got for the March of 1966 car life. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Obviously got a ton of great feedback on it. So obviously I think you guys really did like it. I'm not getting any comments on Facebook. If you guys are still hanging in there and you are commenting, it is not feeding me. But that's what we had for the March of 66 car life. And looks like you guys really enjoyed it. Fiddler, speaking of propane, considering a low-cost replacement for R12, secret upgrade they don't want you to know about. And that is 100% true, Fiddler. Our propane will work in the place of R12 as long as you never have a leak inside the car and you don't smoke, because it's really bad when that happens because things go boom. That's why it was never marketed. Propane is an excellent replacement for R12. It just explodes when it leaks and gets to a flame or a spark. Big Job had a tiger tail from the local Esso station. Jason's Garage. Anyone remember Gas Ronda? Absolutely. Yep. Or an old school or an accident. That's true. So, but anyway, trivia. Let's play some trivia. Tonight, we're going to give away another can from our friend Mike Shook at Auto Artistry. We had a few of these red and white ones we've given away in the past. It's been a while since we did one. Really nice cardboard can. Phillips 66 motor oil. Great colors on this one. Don't any Inco, no, only Esso. I don't know. A lot of that stuff, there's not a lot of Inco or Esso in my area, Big Job. So not real familiar with that stuff. But tonight, on the Phillips 66 can from our friend Mike Shook at Auto Artistry. Be sure to check out his Facebook page. Give him a like. Check out his website at autoartistry.com and see what he's got going on. That's right, old school. Old school, you won last week, so you're out. So old school's out this week. And the question, speaking of flammable items, on Toy Tuesday last week, we checked out some cans. What was the name of the can marked flammable everywhere? Which I thought was really odd on an actual metal can that, because when they were making metal cans, that was kind of back in the day where if you were too dumb to figure it out, you kind of got what you got. This thing was marked flammable all over. What was the name? Not the oil company, the actual name of the product in that can. Ralph says that was about the time Plymouth was getting into police cars too. That's true. They had a lot of really cool police cars with heavy-duty options in that era as well. No, it's not the Notre Dame football coach. So, no, this is a new can. It still has oil in it. I will drain it before I ship it, but it is new. It's never been punched top or bottom. I'll drain it out of the bottom. A few guesses coming in, but don't have anything yet. Keep an eye on both formats. As we start talking about the raffle, old school knows it. So, yeah. But he didn't. He's not in this time. We got some getting close, but not completely correct. And I want the actual name of the product. So, and it said it all the way across the front of the can, and it was very specific. So, keep an eye on that. We've got some stuff that's close. This month's raffle, if you haven't gotten your chances for this month's raffle, be sure to get it in. Haven't decided what I'm going to be doing next Sunday night. If I'm not here next Sunday, we'll do the drawing. We're getting close, but we're not. If we don't do the drawing next Sunday, we'll do it the week after on the promo pack. Starting off with the little 60 Falcon 2-door sedan. We got people bouncing all the way around it, but we don't have it yet. The 62 Fairlane 2-door with showing the engine that also gives the specs on the bottom. we're getting close, and part of the company's name is in the name, so one Chevrolet in the batch, the 1953 in surf green, because it says so right on the roof. And this one's actually a bank. It says on the bottom, to help save for a rainy day or to buy a new Chevrolet. Cool piece, bumpers and everything still on this one. And the final one in this promo pack, the 1960 Ford two-door hardtop, beautiful car. Kim got it. Skelly Solve. That was it. Skelly Solve was it. Kim was our winner. And Jason came in right after that with it. So Kim, when we get done, you can give me a shout tomorrow and get me your mailing info to get that to you. So this is a great promo. It's got a little bit of warpage to it, but a great body lines on this 60 Ford. It's got the whole nose in it. It's got the tail lights and the trim on the back. Cool piece there as well. So going to be giving those away maybe next Sunday. If not, if I'm not here, if I just do a quick one from wherever I am at next Sunday, we'll catch it the week after that. We'll announce the new raffle either next Sunday or we may do it on Toy Tuesday. Second name out of the can. This time's going to get one of the Chevrolet badges. We haven't given one of these away in a while. This one's a little bit rough, but they're still cool pieces. We're going to give away a badge to the second name out of the can. Alan NC needs the Chevy promo, so this is going to be for the second name coming out of the can. So, like I said, we'll see how things shake out next week and see what we do on the raffle. But get your chances, $1 chance. PayPal address info is on the text part of these posts, and as well as mailing info if you want to send a check or money order. So, Fiddler, did you have friction cars? I do have some friction cars as well. Yep. So anyway, let's catch some new inventory, and then I'm going to jump off here because I've still got some work I need to get done tonight, and then we're starting to get late. What did I pick up this week? Obviously, the stuff from the Hutch Swap Meet. Picked up some more Chevy and GMC trucks and a Love pickup. So going to have some videos coming on that stuff in the near future. And also have this week another one from Pioneer Auto Show and some new inventory and some farm tours coming up. So anyway, that kind of is pretty much catches what I've got for tonight. We'll go ahead and wrap up. If anybody's got any other questions or comments they want to throw up there real quick, we'll sure try to catch them. But anyway, as always, thanks for stopping by. I really appreciate your guys' support. The super chats are awesome. The fact that you guys take time out of your evening to hang out with me, make this chat what it is. Your participation, your engagement in the chat is what helps us all learn, and that's what makes it great. So that's right. There was a bunch of different kind of solves, but we didn't get to the Skelly solve. So let's see. Anyway, thanks for going. Oh, Joe said the clock does keep time. It does keep time. That's pretty cool. I completely forgot about it, Joe. Thanks for throwing that up there. So that was cool. Glad that worked out too. Thanks for being here, everybody. Like I said, Toy Tuesday, we got tons of cool stuff coming up. I've been buying a ton of stuff for Toy Tuesday, so lots of exciting Toy Tuesdays coming up, plus the regular inventories. As always, got any questions, give me a call, 620-786-4428 on anything you may need for your project. Be happy to help you out. Brandon still wants a Wagon Wednesday. So thanks for watching, everybody. I'm going to bail. I got to get to work. I got some stuff I need to get done on eBay tonight, as well as some other stuff. So thanks for stopping by. Thanks for making this what it is, and I appreciate your help and your support, and you guys stopping by and hanging out. Thanks for watching, everybody. We will see you Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, live for Toy Tuesday.